Sheila here with Sarah Salas Moon, and this is the third episode in the kind of the aftermath of the chapters of the fullest, or more chapters of the fullest, um, and that is about Pluto in Aquarius, literally changing the infrastructure of power. But this is also Pluto. How should I say that? Pluto in Capricorn was shifting, shifting from the core. Who is at the top? It was exposing the infrastructure of, it was transforming the infrastructure of power, but it was exposing the infrastructure of power. Pluto in Aquarius is, if what do we think about when Pluto reached Aquarius? What did people say in architecture? I said rejuvenating what is set in stone. People said, oh, we should return to building in stone. It's the architecture, and Pluto here is purging and rejuvenating the architectures of power. This is the name of the company that I mentioned earlier. It's a media company that owns, there's a global media company that owns subsidiaries and was exposed, affiliated with the Epstein list. Um, so when we talk about shifting the architecture of power, if I think about building a house, the house should be supportive of the temperature requirements, the energy flow, my lifestyle, a healthy nervous system. When I think about infrastructure of power, is not supposed to be, how should I say that, uncomfortable for me to be in power. And it's not about me adapt. If I build a house, I don't adapt to the house. The house adapts to me. The point of architecture is so that I will feel at home in my home. So when we talk about the architecture of power, I'm not supposed to feel, how should I say that? Being in power and being with power is supposed to be supportive of my nervous system as an individual and as a part of a group. Okay? I'm supposed to have secure attachment. My intimacy is supposed to be on basis of relaxed arousal. The whole point about being in power is, oh, that structure is built in a way that I can relax into being within that structure at every single place of that structure. Whether it's the bedroom or the kitchen or the bathtub or the porch or the garden. Now, when that structure is the structure of global society, okay, we either get that or it's guillotine o'clock. Extortion called structure is not sustainable. It necessitates that I would see people that are the complete same as me, a human being, as something that's not, and base my decision off of that, only to be thwarted down when it fits the extorters. The people that saw Mark Dutroux as a monster and didn't want to hear about what that monster had to say about the network, missed the spot. And that spot was, first of all, how was Mark Dutroux created? It's not about, oh, letting him get away with these crimes. It's about how do we create housing, public housing. That's where the estate that he was using that is supportive of a happy, thriving nervous system where children are not raped, starved, tortured, and so on. And if they get caught up in that, oh, that's a monster, amazing. That keeps the network going. Dutroux said it himself, particularly from prison. But that prison was freedom in comparison to its like upbringing, or not, I don't know. Why do kings die in eclipses? People say, oh, they're doing uh, certain ritual to leave the body and so on and so forth. Yeah, but why on that eclipse? Why not keep the glory as a king? Well, it's not so glorious when, you know. And what is the preserving of the consciousness through incarnation practice? What does it allow? What does it not allow? Let me tell you what does it not allow. Intimacy. Love that is actually love and secure attachment, relaxed arousal. It allows that only in the context of a bait. And living eternity without it is unsuffice. You can see Ketu is in Magha. um, More things about changing the infrastructure of power. People see power differently. What they were offered in previous eras that was applying to them, many people are not blinded by that or require love that is actually loving. It's like, oh, there's a sense of belonging. Amazing. It needs to be with secure attachment. To actually have a healthy relation. Um, Saturn in Aries emphasizes the power of the individual within the global structure. And within the global structure, within the global infrastructure of power. I said many times, a lot of the elite or aristocracy discovers that if they treated civilians like they treat their children, the civilians would rebel. Um, the perception of winners and losers is really with Neptune in the sign of Mars, which is an action, but in a competition is also to whether somebody is winning or losing a competition, and Aries competes with itself. Neptune can create certain losses that are miraculous creation. For example, there are certain, let's say, certain places where not going for that opportunity, because there were some opportunities. When I was doing Spirit of Matter, there were some opportunities, um, and I required to drop the petering practice first. Because my dreams coming true are supposed to be enjoyable, safe, free, and um, and in retrospective, I'm glad I made that investment, because probably pretty much all the people affiliated with the opportunities would be also affiliated with, and probably to sustain those opportunities would mean that I would go through stuff that would not be. And by the way, like, I was tortured. So, and I think people see by the limited reach that this has. And this is also another facet with Neptune, because Neptune is a slow-moving planet. So we see people that were speaking in isolation, then after the years, suddenly, oh, that person was talking about that for years and they had no reach. So I guess now I'm the person who's talking about that and has no reach. um, and again, the more you get to, now this has no reach has to do um, both with the people in the previous infrastructure of power limiting reach, but also with the common people being ready to understand the structure. If people would get, if I think back to 1996, because I was in high school then, and there was this story in Belgium about the psychopath killer There was kidnapping girls and so on. It was terrifying. And as a person at half Dutch is even more. But what we remembered was, oh, there was this one psychopath killer. I was 12. At 96, I was 12. Actually, we were just traveling to Netherlands when I think about this. It was my first journey to Netherlands. We're in Netherlands, Belgium, and France. Now, because my mother saw how, she didn't saw how children are mistreated in like beatering style, but she saw how children are like mistreated. And she was very protective of me. Because of course we were checking whether they can register me to a public house already or not at 12. She knew Netherlands and they told her, oh, come at 16. That would only now I remember, only now the dissociation dissolves, where that realtor that was waiting for my mother to sell me for housing, I think it was in Nijmegen, and he was a Dutch realtor. Then I had the luck that I was born to a parent that their response to being exposed to how children are mistreated was to be incredibly protective of their child. Now, of course, when it comes to the astral field or the dream state, then a parent doesn't know even what it is, and a child doesn't know to tell. And it's a good thing that that child didn't try to tell, because otherwise it would be ending up like maybe some of my colleagues. Now, the trauma and the shock of those situations also affect people's responses and delayed responses. A lot of parents think, oh, if that would happen to my child, if that would happen to your child, you would be so dissociated, overwhelmed with whether shame or I don't know, that child could tell you a couple of times and then in several years, and then it would be like, yeah, but nothing actually like happened. Now, at that time, it was like, oh, there's this psychopathic killer that was kidnapping girls. He wanted to talk about the network in 1996, I don't know. And so people not having reach to talk about things is also because how much does the world, how ready is the world to hear what they have to say? A person speaks, boom, they're raped, and then the energy siphon, then they can't speak, and the people that surround them. I literally saw something like that happens to a survivor. The survivor spoke very eloquently, and then they were tortured. And then the people that engaged with their content, they were calling to attack them, and then they thought that it's the people that engage with their content, and the people that engage with their content thought that it's not that they thought that it was them. It's kind of like, yeah, that person was tortured, but it also threatened me now. And these are the conversations that happen with, 0 subscribers on a remote channel. Sometimes very literally. um, so this is also the nature of Neptune. It's also very difficult for people when they've been. Neptune is kind of like a chronicle situation. It can be chronicle helplessness. And it's difficult for a person to face the fact that something had been chronically missing in their lives that shouldn't have been missing.